Welcome to The Explainer. All right, let's talk about something that's probably made you want to throw your computer straight out the window. I'm talking about that dreaded moment when a Word document you've poured hours into just refuses to open. It's corrupted. You know the feeling, right? You've been working for hours, you go to open that super important file, and instead of seeing your masterpiece, you get an error message. And your heart just stops for a second. That initial wave of panic is just the worst. Yeah, it's that awful sinking feeling in your stomach. Total despair. But hey, before you hit the panic button or just give up and start all over, you need to know this. There are a ton of ways to fight back and get your work back. It's really not as hopeless as it seems in that moment. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the corrupted document nightmare itself, then run through a first aid checklist. After that, we'll dig into Word's own hidden rescue tools, look at using other apps, and even call in some special software. And finally, we'll cover how to stop this from ever happening again. Let's do it.
All right, Section 1, the corrupted document nightmare. Before we can solve the problem, we've got to understand it. Man, this quote from Tech Republic just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It is one of the worst feelings. But that frustration can make us jump to conclusions. See, the thing is, the problem isn't always the file itself. It could actually be an issue with Word, or maybe even your whole operating system.
Okay, on to our second section, your first aid checklist. These are the simple, immediate steps you need to take before you start diving into the deep end. Think of these 4 steps as your absolute first line of defense. First up, don't just assume it's the file. Try opening other documents. Or better yet, try opening that file on a totally different computer. Is the problem following the file? Step 2, and this is so important, make a copy. Seriously, before you do anything else, copy that file somewhere safe. You never want to be trying these fixes on your one and only original. Third, do a quick search of your sent email folder. You never know, you might have emailed a perfectly good version to someone last week. And finally, number 4, run a little tool called CHKSK. It's a built-in Windows thing that basically checks your whole hard drive for errors at the system level. It's like a health checkup for your storage. All right, moving on to Section 3, Word's hidden rescue tools. So if that first aid checklist didn't do the trick, it's time to see what Word itself can do. Turns out Microsoft tucked away some pretty powerful recovery features right inside the program. And our first one is the open and repair function. You know, believe it or not, this has been hiding in plain sight since way back in Word XP. It's not obvious at all, but it's there just waiting to be your hero. So here's how it works. When you go to the Open menu to find your file, don't just click the Open button. See that little drop-down arrow right next to it? Click that and you'll see an option called Open and Repair. When you choose that, Word basically forces itself to try and fix the document as it's opening. It's not going to work every single time, but for how easy it is to try, it's an absolute lifesaver in a lot of cases. Okay, so let's say Open and Repair didn't work. Don't worry, we're not done yet. There's another tool called the Recover Text from Any File Converter. Now, this one's a totally different beast. It's more of a brute force approach. It basically says, I don't care about the fancy formatting, the images, or the tables. Just give me the words. And you find it in that same open window. See the drop-down menu for the file type? Just click that and look for Recover Text from Any File. When you select this, you're telling Word to just rip out all the raw text it can find and ignore everything else. Look, the result might be a little messy, you'll lose all your formatting, but if all you need is to get your actual writing back, this can be an absolute game changer. So what if Word's own tools can't even fix it? Well, that brings us to Section 4, opening with other apps. The idea here is simple. Sometimes all you need is a fresh pair of eyes to look at the file. We've got 2 main approaches here. First, try a different word processor altogether, something like Apache OpenOffice, which is free, or even Apple's TextEdit. They use different ways to read Word files, and sometimes they can succeed where Word itself fails. The second strategy is if you manage to get the file open in any of these programs, the very first thing you should do is save it in a different format, something like rich text format or .rtf. This basically strips out all the Word-specific code that might be causing the problem in the first place, leaving you with a clean copy. All right, Section 5, calling in the recovery software. Let's say you've tried everything we've talked about so far and you're still stuck. Well, now it's time to call in the heavy artillery. Yeah, I mean, as this quote from Frostbite points out, sometimes you just need a dedicated tool. There's a whole world of software out there built for exactly this kind of crisis. Programs designed from the ground up to dig into damaged files and pull out whatever they can. And here are just a few of the big names in the game: Rakuva, Testdisk, Stellar. The list goes on. A lot of these, like Rakuva for instance, actually have free versions that are perfect for a one-off emergency like this. They might be a little more technical to use, but honestly, when nothing else works, these are your best shot. Okay, last section, and maybe the most important: preventing the next disaster. Because look, getting your file back is an amazing feeling, but making sure you never have to go through that panic again, that's even better. It's all about building a safety net for yourself, and it's easier than you think. Set up regular backups using the tools built right into your computer, like Windows Backup or Time Machine. Use cloud storage. Services like OneDrive or Google Drive are fantastic because they often keep a version history, so you can just roll back to a time when the file is working. A super simple trick? Just email important drafts to yourself every once in a while. Boom, instant backup. And of course, the one we all know but sometimes forget: just get in the habit of hitting Control-S or Command-S all the time. Make it muscle memory. So, I'll leave you with this one final thought. Just stop and think for a second. What's the most important file you're working on right now? Is it backed up? Is it safe? If the answer is no, or even "I'm not sure," then please take 5 minutes after you finish this and go make a backup. Trust me, your future self will thank you.